Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Back to the Past with me. I'm Blair, and I believe this is episode 33 if I'm not mistaken. Back in Arkansas, it is still early March. Daffodils are really late coming in this year. They've got a really pretty yellow daffodil bloom, and it looked like some of them had bloomed and then kind of wilted because it got so cold the last couple days. I'd hoped to be here and make another 2 wall pours on the barn, and then in addition to that I have a man lift reserved for Friday and Saturday that I want to prune these trees. Got snow forecast for Friday though, so I'm not sure that one's going to happen. Since it's a little too muddy to work on the barn today, I've resigned myself to making just 1 wall pour while I'm here this week, and then I'm still going to spend some time trimming trees. I started trimming one of the pear trees. This one here is a real mess. It's got branches hanging down every which way. Got an apple tree that's even worse. My 2 peach trees that I planted last year, one here and one out of the view of the camera, but we got some blossoms just about to start opening. So I was kind of concerned that these may have died through the drought last summer, but I may have a few dead branches. Well, maybe not. I guess everything's pretty live there. So I may have some peaches here in the next couple of years. Anyway, I'm off to trimming some trees. I'm going to relocate the camera and we'll go into time lapse. Gabby's here with me too. I don't know if she's in the... Hey, Gab, come here. Say hi to everybody. Sit. Usually when I say sit, that means I have food. Anyway, she's here. Good to see you again. Well, I've got 2 trees finished. They are not pretty. They still don't look like fruit trees. It'll take years of grooming to get them there. I was told that a pear orchard was part of the original homestead, so I don't know if these are original trees or not. I don't know if they're 100-year-old pear trees. They may or may not be. Could be suckers or seeds that were dropped that started new ones. I doubt that they're that old. Got the first 2 trimmed. One problem I had last year was the moth larva that is hosted by the tree of heaven really got into these, and I didn't realize it at first. I did end up spraying for them, and it may or may not have done some good. When I came in June, the pears were about the size of golf balls or a little bit bigger, and still in the thousands on the trees, but I noticed that the leaves were starting to curl and turn black on the edges. So at that time I went ahead and sprayed them, but part of the pruning process that I'm doing is to cut the tops off to where I can reach high enough to spray them. One of the trees that I cut down, that I trimmed, that was one of the really gnarly ones, it was actually about 40 feet in height. This one behind me was also a good productive tree, but the tree of heaven had the moth larva had those pears killed before they got to golf ball size. I ended up eating 1 pear out of, I don't know, was probably 10,000 pears between all the trees last year. Having 2 problems. One was that tree of heaven moth. Another was that these trees hadn't bared fruit in quite some time, is what I've been told by neighbors. And what had happened is that raspberry bushes and grapevines had grown up into them and really choked them out. I mean, the poor trees, they didn't really have a chance to produce. Well, last year, after I got that problem solved, I found that so many of them that in trying to escape and get sunlight grew into little tiny spindly branches that many of them, once the fruit got big enough, that the branches bent over and either broke or the deer pulled them over the rest of the way and harvested the pears themselves as they were starting to ripen. So once I get that lift, this tree here, I've started thinning on the bottom. It needs some thinning all the way up, and it's about 30 to 35 feet in height, I would guess. And so I'm going to top it at about 20 feet or so too, so that I'm able to spray the entire tree, not leave part of it unsprayed this year. I'm standing by the other peach tree. This one's got some blossoms just about to open. This tree here had a few pears on it. It wasn't great for production. The one behind me, and I guess it would be to my right now, it had a few pears on it, not great in production last year. So I'm not too concerned about that tree and this one here, but once I get that lift here, I really want to get into this one and try to clean it up so that it's a producer this year. And then the big tree that you're seeing over the top of my spring house back there, that's a walnut tree. I think just out of the picture is the really, really gnarly apple tree, and I don't know that I care an awful lot about it, except that I'm going to need to get it topped off at a level 2 to where I can spray that. That is going to be a big concern on all of these fruit trees, is getting them topped at a level that I can spray them. This here put out a yellow, looked like a Bartlett pear. The two over there that I finished with, they put out red Bosc pears last year. So that was kind of interesting. I am going to, a couple other things. I am using a Greenworks polesaw, and I love this thing. It has a 40-volt battery. It's one of the few battery-operated pole saws that actually has a line oiler on it, and that seems to run out of oil just about the same time that the battery runs out of juice on the other end. So that's kind of a handy thing. I'll take you over my what I was doing. You can probably tell was to cut the branches, take them over, and to grind them up using my walk behind bush hog, and that thing is it's tremendous. I will leave a link in the description down below with both access to this Greenworks pole saw if you're interested in that, and also to my walk behind mower, because that thing is just absolutely fantastic. It's advertised as grinding up branches up to 2.5 inches in diameter, and that's pretty much what it does too. So I'll go ahead and shut down the camera for just a minute. We'll walk over to where I was grinding, and some of those branches were easily 2 to 2.5 inches in diameter, and that walk behind brush hog really took care of it. Got some ducks quacking behind me. If you can hear them in the pond, they are driving Gabby absolutely crazy today. She's wanted to go chase them all day long, but she hasn't yet, and hopefully won't. See you in a second. Okay, let's take a look. I threw on a few additional branches after I'd finished grinding, but it's truly pretty amazing what that'll do, and how it actually moves toward helping to turn these back into dirt. And as wet as things are here, wood tends to rot pretty darn quickly. Behind me we have the two apple trees. They're both crab apple trees, but as I understand it, pretty large crab apples. Last year there was no fruit at all. They did blossom. They were beautiful in blossoms. One of them had white blossoms, I think that one, and then the one directly behind me had pink blossoms. So they were really pretty when they blossomed, but they didn't produce anything. Today is a day that I will call a tweener day, in that the temperature is between being able to comfortably be out here in a t-shirt. It's a little too chilly for that, but it's a little bit too warm to be wearing a flannel shirt and move around and do anything either. So I think the temperature's around 38 or 40 degrees, something like that. Also, when I get back with that lift, I have my big maple tree that I'm so proud of. There's a lot of dead wood in that, some of it up very high, and that lift has a height range of about 50 feet. So I think I can get high enough to where I can really pretty effectively trim that maple tree. And that I can reach by setting up in the driveway. So that'll be probably the first tree that I trim. We're scheduled to get 1 to 3 inches of snow on Friday, and it is Saturday and Sunday that I have the lift rented. So I'm hoping that it doesn't get too wet and slippery to actually be able to get it down here and work on these pear trees. Hello again. It is Sunday afternoon in early, I guess it's getting into mid-March. My plans have changed a lot on this trip, not by my own fault. But the 50-foot high lift that I had reserved to be rented for this weekend to be able to reach up into the maple and walnut tree up high where I needed to trim some dead branches, it ended up that whoever had it reserved or whoever had it rented before me got it stuck just before the weekend and was unable to get it out. So what that did is I had to kind of adapt, and what I did is ended up getting 2 wall pours made, which is a good thing too. I guess the trees are going to have to wait. The last pear tree that I was going to trim and thin, I reached up just as high as I could reach into the tree from the ground and on a ladder, but unable to do an awful lot there. Today has been windy and an awful lot of traffic. And I guess weekend traffic is pretty normal with being so close to the state park, but what's kind of unusual is a lot of the traffic has been going into the park rather than coming out of the park. And on a late Sunday afternoon, usually there's a lot of people coming out, but I guess this has been kind of a late winter that has just dragged on, and people are tired of sitting at home, so they want to go up into the park and do a little hiking around. Anyway, I am going to be pulling my trailer back tomorrow. Supposed to have some bad weather coming in tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, so I'll probably try to leave here around noon or early afternoon. The one thing that I plan on doing is to haul back some logs with me. I'll be pulling my trailer. And I've already loaded a 17-foot log of the white oak that I cut down back in a previous episode. I've got 3 more that I'm going to pull out. There are 2 short white oak logs and then 1 really nice red oak log. That'll put me up to about 3,000 pounds. And although 3,000 pounds isn't an awful lot to be hauling on the trailer, since I could be getting into some weather and don't really know what I'm going to have to tolerate, well, I don't want to overload it. So let's go take a look at that next. Be right back. I need a piece of rope. Okay, I think I'm ready to take it up the hill. This log I calculated to be about 400 pounds. The next piece of white oak will be a little bit lighter. I think it's 350, I figured. And then about 600 to maybe 700 on the piece of red oak. I'll go get them next. Here is the piece of red oak, and I can tell by handling it, it's way heavier than those last two. So anyway, I'm going to try to get it on. I'm going to try the pipe again. I've got a feeling this piece is heavy enough that it'll probably break. But it was a scrap anyway, so I don't have anything to lose. I think to get my tongue weight just about right, I need to pull it ahead about another 5 to 6 feet, which is going to be just about right for when it rolls off the end of that pipe. I think I'll need to winch it the rest of the way. Well, I will wait for the traffic to go by. I will tie down this load and be ready to leave tomorrow. I went through and did a lot of different things this time around, even sat one day all day long watching television while it snowed here. Thank you for joining me here again on this episode. I don't think I'll be able to get back here for another month or so, but maybe I can get that high lift at that time and take care of trimming some of the bigger trees too. Have a great day.